What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 132 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends, or click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation of any amount could change a life. If you'd like to get our curriculum, you can get the paperback or ebook of From Ashes to Destiny on Amazon. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled Working on Change. Welcome back to episode 132 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast entitled Working on Change. I want to give a big welcome to my friends in recovery from the U.S., South Africa, and Australia for their participation in this group. Guys, for this podcast episode, I'd like you to choose one of the three following quotes and just share your thoughts about it. Here's the first one, and it's an unknown author. And it says, I quote, "I don't think people realize how much strength it takes to pull yourself out of a dark place mentally. So if you've done that today, I'm proud of you." The second one is by Albert Camus, and he wrote, "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that there was in me an invincible summer." And the last one is by Nelson Mandela, and it says, and I quote, "There is nothing like returning to a place that remains unchanged to find the ways in which you have altered." Three good quotes, guys. So we'll group you all together by which quote you chose. Who chose the first one? Ben, I see your hand. Well, wow, David. These are all fantastic. But yes, I think I have to go with the first one. The one that says, I don't think people realize how much strength it takes to pull yourself out of the dark place mentally. And I just want to reiterate what the anonymous author said. So guys, if you've done that today, I'm proud of you. But with that said, if there's anything that can be aggravating to someone in recovery, who, especially like myself, who's now trying to help people in recovery, it's the person being helped thinking that the person helping has some kind of magic wand that they can wave over the individual and suddenly they'll be okay. The truth is you have to go through the valley of the shadow of death. But it seems like these days people don't want to go through anything. They just want the magic wand, a magic pill, and all of a sudden, poof, everything's better. Well, for me, it's personally taken 17 years of sobriety to wake up every day and make a decision to pull myself out of that mental place of darkness where the temptation is there, but it's calling me to give up and go back. But I have to fight for this thing every day. Sure, God gives us grace in some aspect, but really, He's doing it all. And we have to make the conscious decision every day to choose to either throw in the towel and give up or keep walking this road of recovery. So if you're doing the hard work and choosing every day to walk in recovery, bravo for you, bro. If you want somebody to just magically fix it for you, I'm here to tell you that just flat out doesn't exist. And even if it did, you probably wouldn't appreciate something just being handed to you. There's a sense of accomplishment and joy when you decide to do the hard work on your own. Sure, true that, Ben. Recovery is hard work. And too often our friends and family think all we had to do was just say no and the magic appeared. Harry, I see you laughing at that and agreeing on this first quote. David, when I got into recovery, living a normal life was difficult for me. I withdrew from people because I didn't know how to interact or how they were going to treat me with all of my past and the pain I caused. Physically, I didn't take drugs, but emotionally, I was in a dark place mentally, and it was dangerous because stuff like that led me to relapsing. I prayed and practiced my apologies. I wrote down all the specifics and asked God to grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, taking this world as it is and not as I would have it, trusting that He will make all things right if I surrender to His grace. David, I prayed the serenity prayer every day, and that's where I started to forgive myself and believe the Lord has forgiven me too. I went out and started mending relationships and letting some go. I started a new life mentally, and it has been a wonderful, positive path ever since. Wow. Thanks, Harry, for reminding us to continue praying the serenity prayer to help us through any time that we're in a tough place mentally. Is that it for the first quote? Okay. Who's got the second one? Glenn? Yes, David, I like the one by Albert Camus. In the depth of winter, I finally learned that there was in me an invincible summer. I am, I believe, in the depth of winter, and actually have been since before I shed my boyhood. So in effect, it's been a long, hard winter, interspersed by a period of around 13 years, while in my mid-30s, beginning from when I met my wife, right up until she became gravely ill from the type of blood disease that she had inherited genetically. That 13 years was the brightest summer I had ever experienced, one of love, devotion, growth, and self-discovery. But as you know, my wife passed away after her condition overwhelmed her during her last 7 years. We were together 20 years of her life. Then the winter returned with a vengeance without respite. A huge part of me passed with my wife, and the 7 years that followed saw me just existing, while a serious addiction to alcohol sucked me further into an abyss that I was slowly descending into. Fast forward 2 years, David, having given my life to Jesus and having the support of a few wonderful, caring people, not only have I broken the chains of addiction going on 2 years, and through my faith, I'm on an exciting journey of self-discovery with a divine purpose, and importantly, been graced with providing peace that cuts across any situation, good or bad, and is, David, that invincible, shining summer that is shining through the winter clouds. Wow. Well said, Gary. I like that image of peace and purpose becoming our invincible summer that can get us through any season in life and shine through any winter clouds, no matter how dark and gray they are. Anybody else for the second quote? No? Dante, I guess you're ready with the third one then. Sure am, David. It's the Nelson Mandela one. There's nothing like returning to a place that remains unchanged to find the ways in which you have altered. And I would often think about what my old group of friends from high school and college were up to. I'd think about what I'd be missing out on, having those FOMO feelings, and feeling like I didn't belong where I was because I kept getting focused on my past. I was so hung up on where I used to be, and I was missing that I would literally get hung up on it, and it would make me depressed, feeling down, can't measure up, and all because I was focused on what no longer existed. And then I had opportunities to show up in those places where I once was. And I realized that who I used to be, I wasn't anymore. And the things I used to find enjoyable and pleasurable were really completely empty. I actually felt a little scattered at first and a little concerned, feeling like I didn't have my footing. But then I realized today's a new day. God has put me in a new place for new reasons. I'm not who I was, And that, David, is a wonderful thing. Shaw, good word, Dante. That is a wonderful thing when we can see how much we've changed by seeing the emptiness in things that we used to think brought us pleasure. Eddie, what do you think of this Nelson Mandela quote? David, I always just looked around me in awe and disbelief. Finally, sober moments, sober hours, sober days. I was always warned not to engage or associate myself with friends and family that were using or consumed alcohol. But I kept going back for 2 reasons. The first reason was to intentionally step back into the darkness, as this was the only way I could see the light shining within me. It gave me an opportunity to see and realize what a hard, cold, and broken place it was, to appreciate the decision I had made and the impact it had in my life and my family, to stand there and thank God for His grace, to appreciate the change in me. And my second reason was to shine, to glow in encouragement that no matter what the other guys were still going through, that there's hope. To offer my family and friends an opportunity to see the change in me, to see what grace can do, to be a beacon of hope for my people. Being with them made me realize the ways in which I had grown and changed, made me appreciate the steps that I had taken, made me promise myself to never let me get to that level again, ever. Today I stand strong, appreciating change, altered into the man my family deserves to have, changed by grace. Shaw, Eddie, your words remind me of something that I ask guys in recovery, and that is, as you look across the street at people still using, can you see the death in that lifestyle? If so, remember to always choose life. Charlie, you ready to close us out? Sure am, David. And I can start by saying in active addiction, I was certainly a chained man, chained to my bottle, my brain, the devil, and then my bottom. Even once I entered recovery and the drink and drugs went away, I was still chained to my brain. But with 5 years plus in recovery, the other things in my life have not changed much. My family's pretty much the same people. The places I've been haven't changed much. And the things that I have in my life, well, maybe they're a little cleaner, but I still have the normal stuff average people have. I get to spend quality time with my family now, and it's great. It's like old times, yet something is different. I can be there to be of service to people and to give without always looking for a way to get something out of it or to look better in other people's eyes. The guy who was crazy at his mom's funeral, who showed up drunk for suit shopping with his uncle for his grandpop's funeral, and broke all the chairs at his Uncle Bob's funeral, doesn't have to live that way anymore. Instead, when in recovery my grandmother died, and I acted like a man for the first time. When my cousin passed, and I was able to be one of the few family members who went, I witnessed how Christ had changed him and how I had found faith. I was even able to get up and speak about how much we loved each other like brothers, even though we hadn't spent much time together lately. That same uncle who I missed out on suit shopping with also passed. Can you believe my grandmother asked me to preside as clergy over his funeral and burial? Whew, that's change. Now, I return to the bars, the restaurants, and people's homes that I used to party at. People often say, I don't even recognize you. People say they're proud of me, and they try to figure out what's going on. You know, in the past, they used to say, what the heck is still wrong with you? I don't pick up the drink or drug, and it often turns into an opportunity to show recovery works and that there is a God. Often people ask, how do you do it? Then that turns into talking about Jesus and sharing God's word with people. Man, That's fun to do in a place that you used to lay next to the toilet and be drugged out all the time. Today, I looked around my home, see the things that would have been broken, but the anger doesn't control me too much anymore, if at all even. It's nice to see that we can take family vacations, have friends, and that my family can be comfortable coming to me with life's events. So often a conversation will happen, and in a place where I would have said something ridiculous in the past, now there's a loving comment instead, or I just don't say anything at all. I'll just try to help. I'm still a work in progress, but my mind is being renewed and my heart softens one day at a time. Wow. Great way to close, Charlie, with an awesome list of ways that we truly are transformed into a new person. Thanks, guys, for all of your input. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you would like to join an online group or get one-on-one counseling to help you while you're working on change, please message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfromatod@gmail.com or go to my website www.fromatod.org and click on the contact page. You can keep in touch with what we're doing in From A to D by following me on Instagram at David From A to D. Tune in Monday for our next episode, and as always, stay safe and stay strong.